In the shifting sands of history, some figures stand as titans, their legends echoing through the ages. One such name is Rommel, the desert fox. But behind the myth of the invincible tactician lies a far more complex story, a tale of a brilliant soldier, a reluctant participant in a regime he came to despise, and a man whose principles ultimately led to his tragic downfall. This is the story of the real Erwin Rommel, a journey from Imperial Germany's battlefields to the heart of the Third Reich's darkest conspiracy. Born in 1891, Johannes Erwin Rommel was not a product of Prussia's aristocratic military elite. He was a middle-class son of a schoolmaster, driven by a quiet but intense ambition. Joining the army in 1910, he found his true calling. As a young lieutenant on the Italian front, he displayed the traits that would later define him: lightning speed, audacious surprise, and a deep understanding of terrain and troop morale. His daring capture of Mount Manager with just 100 men against thousands of defenders earned him the Pour le Mérite, Imperial Germany's highest military honor. He wasn't just a commander. He was a leader who led from the front, sharing every risk with his men. The interwar years saw Rommel as an instructor and author. His book, Infantry Attacks, became a military classic, studied by generals worldwide, even future adversaries. It was here he articulated his philosophy. Success in battle hinged on speed, deception, and the psychological disruption of the enemy. When the Second World War erupted, Rommel, now a major general, was given command of the 7th Panzer Division. What followed was a masterclass in mechanized warfare. During the invasion of France in 1940, his division moved with such terrifying speed and unpredictability that it earned a new name, the Ghost Division. It would appear out of nowhere, strike, and vanish, leaving chaos in its wake. Rommel was always at the tip of the spear, often out of radio contact, leading with instinct and an uncanny feel for the battlefield's rhythm. His stunning success in France caught Hitler's eye. In 1941, Rommel was sent to a theater that would forever be linked with his name, North Africa. Tasked with shoring up the collapsing Italian front, he was given command of a small German force, the Afrika Korps. With limited resources and facing superior numbers, Rommel did the impossible. He launched a surprise offensive that threw the British into a panicked retreat, pushing them hundreds of miles back across the Libyan desert. This is where the legend of the Desert Fox was truly born. He was a phantom, his tactics a whirlwind of feints, flanking maneuvers, and daring raids deep behind enemy lines. He used dummy tanks to deceive Allied reconnaissance and used the desert itself as a weapon, appearing from blinding sandstorms to strike. His leadership was magnetic. He lived as his soldiers did, and during the scorching heat and freezing nights, his command vehicle a constant presence at the front. This earned him the fierce loyalty of his men and the grudging respect of his enemies. Winston Churchill himself told the House of Commons, "We have a very daring and skillful opponent against us, and, may I say across the havoc of war, a great general." Crucially, Rommel's reputation was built not just on tactical genius, but on chivalry. The war in the desert was often called a war without hate. He insisted on the humane treatment of prisoners of war, often sharing his own meager rations with captured British officers. He flatly defied Hitler's infamous Commando Order, which demanded the immediate execution of all captured Allied commandos. For Rommel, this was a matter of honor. He was a soldier, not a murderer, and he saw his opponents as fellow professionals, not ideological enemies. This moral compass, however, would soon set him on a collision course with the very regime he served. As the war dragged on, Rommel's private disillusionment with Hitler and the Nazi Party grew. He was a soldier, not a politician, and the regime's brutality repulsed him. The turning point came after the decisive Allied victory at Alamein and the subsequent retreat. He saw the stark difference between the reality of the front and the propaganda at home. He began to understand that Hitler was leading Germany to absolute ruin. By 1944, Rommel was tasked with defending Fortress Europe from the inevitable Allied invasion. As commander of Army Group B in France, he worked tirelessly to strengthen the Atlantic Wall, but he knew it was a lost cause. He openly told his superiors, and even Hitler himself, that the war was unwinnable and that Germany must seek peace. But he knew it was a lost cause. He openly told his superiors, and even Hitler himself, that the war was unwinnable and that Germany must seek peace. His pleas fell on deaf ears. He warned that if the Allies weren't stopped on the beaches on D-Day, the war would be lost. His prediction proved devastatingly accurate. It was during this time that he was approached by old friends, men who were part of a growing conspiracy to remove Hitler from power. While Rommel was not a direct plotter in the assassination attempt, he agreed that Hitler must be arrested and brought to trial. He believed his duty was to Germany, not to a destructive leader. He was ready to negotiate a separate peace with the Western Allies to save his country from total annihilation. His role was to be the military leader who would take control of the army after Hitler's removal. On July 17, 1944, just 3 days before the planned assassination, fate intervened. Rommel's staff car was strafed by an Allied fighter plane, and he was severely wounded. He was recovering when, on July 20th, the bomb plot failed. In the brutal crackdown that followed, the conspirators were rounded up, tortured, and executed. Under torture, several mentioned Rommel's name. The net began to close around Germany's most celebrated soldier. Hitler was faced with a dilemma. He couldn't publicly try and execute the Desert Fox. It would be a catastrophic blow to civilian and military morale. So he chose a quieter, more sinister path. On October 14, 1944, 2 generals from Hitler's headquarters arrived at Rommel's home. They gave him an ultimatum: face a public show trial for high treason, which would result in his execution and the persecution of his family, or take his own act. Erwin Rommel chose his family and his honor. He said goodbye to his wife and son, calmly got into the car with the 2 generals, and was driven down a quiet country lane. A few minutes later, the field marshal was dead. The Third Reich announced that the beloved Desert Fox had succumbed to his wounds, a hero to the last. The truth would not emerge until after the war. Erwin Rommel's story is a tragedy. It is the story of a military genius who served a criminal regime, a man of principle, who wrestled with his conscience, and a patriot who ultimately gave his life in an attempt to save his country from the madness he had come to despise. His legacy is not a simple one of a hero or a villain. It is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, moral courage and personal integrity matter. This hidden story of a soldier's ultimate conflict moved you? Show your support by hitting the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. There are more forgotten heroes and complex histories waiting to be remembered. Thank you for watching.